Greetings, Local 2627 sisters and brothers. Today is Monday, January 26th. I hope everybody had a great weekend. And now we're getting prepared for the great snowstorm or blizzard that's coming up. Keep in mind that there's going to be specific rules how the city's going to handle this. Some of the rules are going to be uh, right on. Some of the rules are going to be grimy. You need to be aware of what's going on. You need to find out if you're defined as essential personnel. You need to find out exactly what that means. If management tells you don't come to work, you need to have this documented. Send an email as per your instructions. I will not be showing to work. I mean, all these little nuances of this whole thing with this blizzard. We don't know how the mayor is going to act with this, but it hasn't been right in the past. So please be aware of this. Find out what's going on. Keep the union abreast of what's going on if you feel that you're being treated less than equitable. Now, another thing. There are a lot of people who complain about where they're working. They don't have the respect that they think they deserve. Management doesn't give them raises and things like that. Well, my suggestion, if you've been at a place 6 or 7 years, you should look for a job someplace else. Now, there's going to be a group of people that's going to say, well, I've looked and I can't get it. You're not looking hard enough because we have multiple members that are getting jobs, and we hear about it every day, who've changed their positions, changed their work locations, changed their agencies. We're in every mayoral agency. We're in all the departments and all the authorities in the city of New York. We're in about 340 different locations. I mean, really, you should go out there and look to better yourself by going to a job someplace, because management really don't care. Management really does not care. Management, at most cases, are at-will employees, meaning that there's somebody above them that says, look, if you want this job, I expect you to have it done this way. I expect you to treat the people this way. So who do you think they're going to look after? They're going to look after themselves and management versus looking after you. Now, that being said, let me just mention another thing. There are people in our local who have entry-level jobs, meaning this is the job they first started. The jobs don't pay at the highest spectrum of our titles. It pays at the lower, and you stay there for 20 or 25 years. Now, let me explain something to you. If you're at the lowest rung on the ladder, everything rolls downhill and it's going to roll on you. You have an obligation to yourself, to your peace of mind, to try to upgrade yourself for whatever position you're in. Because as long as you're down at that lower level job, you just make it easier for them to stomp on you. Because a lot of people, or I should say probably the majority of people that we have problems with this type of thing, is coming from the people at the entry level jobs. Now, and then I look at the database and I see people who've been working the same position for 15 years, 20 years. You have not made any strives to try to increase your job. You haven't taken, I mean, if you take an exam, you don't get called up the list, you don't stop. You don't just sit there and sit in that position. You gotta work towards something. Now, between DC 37 and 2627, you can get $1,600 a year in education reimbursement. There's a lot of free programs in the city of New York where you can get education for basically free. We have enterprise training where you can get education and certification. Like I said, it's reimbursable by the local. But if you're at a low-level job, and I'm going to call it a low-level job, which means entry-level job, and management keeps on doo-dooing on you, then you need to say, hey, you know what? Let me get some education and let me step up, because I'm quite sure where you work, there are people around you who've gotten education and have stepped up and left you there where you are. And don't think because, oh, well, it only takes me 15 minutes to get to work, so you won't take a job that's 45 minutes away from work or an hour away from work, even though it pays $10,000 or $15,000 more. These are the kind of conversations that we hear. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any viable sense at all, because at the end of the day, when you retire, you can't afford to eat dog food and cat food because it costs too much. Because when I was growing up, and you probably heard me say this before, when I was growing up, the senior citizens ate dog food and cat food because they couldn't make ends meet. You can't afford dog food and cat food now. My suggestion, or what I'm wishing for everybody, and that's the reason why we have an education reimbursement program, is to make sure that everybody does what they can do to better themselves where they are. So think about what I'm saying. Don't say, oh, well, I got to stay here making X amount of dollars because these are all my friends. If you don't socialize with them after work, meaning they come to your parties, they know your family members and things like that, they are people that you work with, that they're colleagues at work. So you have no obligation to be there. You're only there with them for 8 hours a day. So please get the education, get the skill set, because we're tired of hearing the city say, well, our members don't have the skills that necessary. That's why we're hiring consultants. Good and welfare this week. Flavio Guillermo, BMCC CUNY. Congratulations, Flavio. You just had a new baby boy. Until I speak to you next week. In solidarity, this is Robert Ajayi.